All right, so back to the main tank here. As mentioned, this is a 100-gallon tank. Kind of have the same thing going on with its setup where it's rocks that I've collected out in the mountains. Same basics, checking the rocks, making sure they don't have pyrite in them, checking the rocks and making sure that they don't have any banded iron in them. Again, that's just to ensure the safety of the tank. Right now, the algae in the back is kind of a little bit nasty and needs to be cleaned up, but it's not a huge priority at the moment. What our priorities are the upgrades that I need to do to this tank. So a brief history about this tank. My fish tank was originally a 35-gallon bow front tank, so not very big. Had some decent amount of fish in it, and this tank originally was a saltwater tank that my partner owned. Unfortunately, there was an incident with the saltwater tank and it crashed and died on us, which was really sad, but my partner decided he didn't want to go through the investment of setting up another 100-gallon saltwater tank because it's extremely expensive. So he gave it to me to use as my freshwater tank. So that was back in Houston back in November, and I kind of did just the gravel that's in there. It's a nutrient gravel for growing plants. And then I took my plants out from my old tank, put those in there, and then added my fish, and then actually bought more fish and had it set up really nice. I mean, really nice. I had it set up in a basic sense. But there were some big issues, starting with the light source, which is a little bit underpowered for the size of this tank. It's not a huge detractor, it's just something that does need to eventually be replaced. Everything in here is from my 35-gallon tank. So the pump system, which is a canister pump, is a Zoomed Reptile filter. And that actually goes into the story of the 35-gallon tank a little bit more. Basically, I used to have a turtle that was a wild turtle. I saved it from a bag of crawfish back when I worked at a restaurant called BB's. So I tried to keep it as a pet for a little bit. Didn't actually keep it long. I only had it for a couple of weeks. It turned out to be a musk turtle, and the smell was really rank and nasty, and I ended up kind of releasing him into a bayou, which he was a wild turtle anyways, so was probably for the better for him. But really awesome filter. I like it. I particularly like the fact that it has the spray bar, so it kind of keeps the tank from having a huge current, as you can see, because the plants aren't really waving. What I'm eventually going to have to do is replace that, pull it out, and that particular filter, because it's graded more for a 50-gallon tank, is going to go to the axolotl setup. The heater that's in here is also geared more for a 50-gallon tank, so that's got to come out and get replaced with a proper heater. As far as that heater goes, it will probably also go to the axolotl tank. Ooh, keep this way. The thing with axolotls, though, is they like cold water. So the only purpose for having that in my axolotl tank is that I do live in Denver, and it does get really, really cold during the winter. So if I have that in that tank, it'll be to keep it at about 60 degrees during the winter time if it's too cold in the house. But it won't be used to keep it to the temperature needed for, say, like tropical fish. So as I upgrade those pieces on that tank, I'll be able to take them and put them onto the axolotl tank, and then just upgrade that tank, which again feeds into everything. I talked about those rocks that are coming with the new tank as well. If I can't use them in the axolotl setup, basically what's going to happen is those are going to go, and I'm going to take either pantyhose or is some kind of any kind of really kind of just porous non-toxic material. I'm going to bag them, and then those bags will be placed at the bottom of the tank, and then substrate will be put over them to build it up and actually be able to do kind of a cascading effect or a sloped effect within the tanks. Doing that cuts down the cost of your substrate by quite a bit. So instead of having, you know, 8 inches of substrate, you have an inch of substrate, and then you have the rocks underneath it to bulk it up and create the landscaping or landscaping texture that you want. So I'll be using that for both the 50-gallon tank and for the main tank, if I can't use those rocks as is in the axolotl tank for now. Past that, with the main tank, I really want to be able to get some more plants in there. That really is going to depend on the lights, though, because like I said, I need to get a better actual light source for it. If I upgrade that, then most likely the light source that's on that tank right now will get moved and put onto the axolotl tank. The really cool thing about that particular light is it's remote controlled, it's programmable, and you can actually dictate how bright or how dim you want the light. So I can just program it to be more in the medium scale and kind of have that on the axolotl tank. That way he gets the light that he needs, the plants that are in there gets the lights that they need, and it's not too much. So yeah, just the tanks are going to kind of be a big project, and they're kind of going to be together on that. The other tank that we have is this one right here, and right now it's empty and not much is going on, but eventually that's going to be a saltwater aquarium. It's about a 75-gallon, if I remember correctly, fish tank. Mark really wants to have a saltwater aquarium again, so that's what that one's going to be. And if he's up for it, well, if he's up for it, I'll kind of spotlight him on his journey of creating that tank as well for this video journal. But yeah, so that's kind of my big focus right now, and that's going to be what a lot of these videos are for the time being, is showing the process of building these tanks up, with designing the actual substrate and how the landscaping is going to go, arranging the rocks, getting plants into them, and actually show you the process of planting the tank. Once that part's done, I'll show you equipment that goes in. So as I get the new filter for the big tank, I'll show that. As I get the new light source for the big tank, I'll show you guys that as well. And kind of go over why I chose those particular items instead of other items. And then basically it'll be occasional updates showing the progress of the plants growing, the fish growing whenever I add new fish to the fish tank, because once I get the bigger filter, I'll be able to do that. And then of course show you guys Quincy's progress in going from a little 2-inch baby to his full-grown 10-inch adulthood. But yeah, so that's the current on all of that. And past that, I've got husky puppies keeping me company. So it's going to be a fun afternoon of dealing with a lot of water and dealing with a lot of aquariums, because once I get the 50-gallon, it's going to be getting the rocks out, cleaning it out. Once it's clean, getting the sand substrate in it. I'm going to have to pick up another bag of the sand, because the amount that I have right now is good for a 20-gallon setup, but I'm upgrading to a 50-gallon setup, so I need to double it. And then past that, I'm probably also going to go pick up a siphon hose, but I'm not going to get that at a pet store. I'm going to actually go to Hobby Lobby, so I'll do a video showing that, because again, one of the goals here is to show more cost-effective measures for helping keep or take care of the tanks. And that's always been one of the products that has given me an aneurysm, because if you go to a pet store and buy a siphon or one of the vacuum cleaner setups, as they like to call it, they're really overpriced. I mean, really, really overpriced. So I'm going to show you guys a awesome alternative that is much more cost effective.